And to unpack this, I am joined by lawyer and the convener, Vanguard for the Independence for Judiciary, Douglas Ogbankwa. Good evening. Glad to have you join me. Good evening.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, let me start by asking, what's your impression of the court ruling?
I don't know what you're asking, but if you were to ask about the Rivers State judgment, I want to say that today the Nigerian judiciary have actually vindicated itself. I have been in the vanguard for calling for sanction for those judges who, excuse me, who assume jurisdiction over matters in which they don't have jurisdiction over. This has been going on for years, and today our law lords have stood tall to set the pace and is steering the decisions for generations to follow. I want to say without any form of equivocation rather, that section 272, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which I am holding right now, is actually opposite to the effects. Section 2723, sorry. It says, and I quote, subject to the provisions of section 251 of the Constitution. Of course, you know that section 251 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, is actually that section that donates jurisdiction to the Federal High Court, to the exclusion of any other court. So that particular section talks about things like that the Federal High Court has exclusive jurisdiction over custom and excise, currency matters, mines and power. Just there are quite a lot of, foreign affairs, a lot of, jurisdictional threshold that they give to the Federal High Court. So that's section 251. So it says subject to the provision of section 251 and other provisions of the Constitution, the Federal High Court shall have jurisdiction to hear and determine the question as to whether the term of office of a member of a House of Assembly of a state or governor or deputy governor has ceased or become vacant.
Just to come in there. If I may come in there, you've quoted the Constitution. I was wondering, do you see Governor Fubara appealing this court ruling? Is there a possibility for that?
I want to tell you, Patsy, I'm not in his mind. But if I had to advise him as a free agent, who is supposed to pay for my advice, I would tell him that there's no need to waste his money. Because this judgment, I am very positive. Because it's clear. We lawyers, we don't manufacture laws. We actually interpret the laws that have been made by the legislature. Now, the National Assembly, in their wisdom, brought about this particular section, and has been expressly stated by the law laws themselves. It said, express exclusion non-utterance, meaning the express mention of a thing is the exclusion of another. It did not say provided always. It is clear. It's exclusive to the Federal High Court. And I want to say that the judges or any judge that has assumed jurisdiction over a matter, he knows he has no jurisdiction.
But
should actually face the wrong National Judicial Council. Because it's getting out of hand. Judges in Kebbi State will assume jurisdiction over matters in Anambra. The other day we saw a Federal High Court judge assuming jurisdiction over a matter that pertains to native law and custom.
If I may come in here, Douglas, I mean, I understand you rightly, quoting a section of the Constitution, but then there's been a verdict by the Court of Law, and the court voids the sack of Pro-Wike lawmakers. So where does that leave us? What's the next line of action?
When you have two conflicting court judgments, the later prevails. That is the law. If for any reason the judgment, but we have to have a community reading of the two judgments of the Court of Appeal. And it also means that only the Supreme Court can give us a final determination of this matter. As Honorable Justice Chikudufo Oputa stated, of blessed memory, said, we are not final because we are infallible. We are infallible because we are final. I am very sure that the law lords in the Supreme Court, who are very, very, would I say, forward-looking, they are judges, justices rather, that I know will do justice. I'm waiting.
But okay, I mean, just to follow up on your line of thought, you mentioned the Supreme Court likely to give justice. But then, do you think the Supreme Court would act contrary or do otherwise? What new evidence or facts will they be presenting? After all, they are there to just interpret the law.
Absolutely. Now, there's something many Nigerians don't know. Because of my experience in Edo State, I seem to have some kind of expertise in House of Assembly issues. Section 91 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended by the 5th alteration, states, and I quote, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, a House of Assembly of a state shall consist of 3 or 4 times the number of seats which the state has in the House of Representatives, divided in a way to reflect as far as possible near equal proportion, provided that a House of Assembly of a state shall consist of not less than 24 and not more than 40. So 4 people, 4 friends, will I say, buying before each other. And they say they are the House of Assembly of Rivers State. That is laughable, is ridiculous, it's unacceptable. It's turning the law on its head. And I want to say that it is only in Nigeria that such an attempt can happen.
Now let's talk about
the speaker, the speaker, the majority leader, the majority whip. Who are the other members? Let us be very frank in this country.
Okay, let's take a minute. Yes. Just to bring in a different line of thought, I mean, let's take a moment to talk about the people now in Rivers State. How does this affect them? These political impasse happening, they are the ones to bear the brunt. So how does this affect the people in Rivers State?
Unfortunately, when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Because the governor of Rivers State and Governor Sim Fobara is the one that is in, that is the de facto governor. That's the governor that is that has actual powers. Nothing much will be done until the Supreme Court makes a pronunciation. So we'll have to await the decision of the Supreme Court. In any case, it's obvious that affected the governance in the state. As a matter of fact, with 4 people passing a budget, you can be assured that anything can happen. They can pass anything. So in the House, I understand, is actually sitting inside the government house, which is actually against the law. Because in a very celebrated case, the Taraba State House of Assembly, which the Honorable Justice Rose Bible gave the lead judgment, he stated that the House of Assembly of the state is not a secret court.
Let me quickly get your... I must interject at this point. Apologies. I want to get your perspective on the court ruling regarding Amaewhule, who is the candidate for the PDP in the upcoming election, sub-national election in Edo State, but now he won't be on the ballot box. What does this mean for PDP in Edo State?
It means that they should wait for another 4 years if the Supreme Court affirms the judgment. It's actually an indication to our politicians that they should be very careful when they are imposing impunity, because impunity, you may take impunity too far, but there's always a day of reckoning. I want to say this is the day of reckoning for all those who are foisted on Edo State. Impunity, various kind of impunity, House of Assembly being inaugurated at 9:30 p.m. at night. 9 members of House of Assembly sitting, and now you excluded about 378 members of the delegates that even the process that produced the governorship candidates actually produced the delegates.
But what the PDP are saying, that this verdict of the court does not in any way affect the candidature of their, elected, of their person, running for office, and that's Amaewhule. Do you see them contending these verdicts of the courts in the higher court?
This thing actually happened in Rivers State about 8 years ago. I want to tell you that APC was a victim when Toyin Cole was disqualified and the heavens did not fall. You know, it was Mark Twain that said that history does not repeat itself, at best it rhymes. So I want to tell you that as far as the law is concerned, as far as Nigeria is concerned, as far as INEC is concerned, as far as the state is concerned, PDP does not have a candidate for these elections, and that is the law.
All right.
They cannot give their own judgment.
Well, thank you so much for your perspective on the news. Douglas Ogbenkwa, convener, Vanguard for the Independence of the Judiciary. Many thanks for your insight. Noted. Thank you so much for your insight on the news.